Thank you, Dr. Tim. Appreciate you.
You're very welcome and deserving. Have a wonderful show.
Thanks. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. And today is Monday, April the 24th, 2023. And their calling number is 563-999-3581. Press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And I tried to get a hold of Michael. He's actually on the road. And I had asked him last night if he was going to be on the show today, and he said yes. But then I haven't been able to get a hold of him in the last couple of hours. So I hope that he shows up. But anyway, I guess until he gets here or doesn't, I'll just share that I had been doing, if you've been part of the Codependence Intensives, then you know what I'm talking about when I talk about I think it's 14 pages, the new deep detailed Power Person worksheet. And I had worked on that. This was back a couple of months ago, and it was actually before my dad passed away. And so I was working on that, and you go down through, and it brings, after several questions, you get to recognize the pseudo-solutions that you use. And so I looked at, the pseudo-solutions that I took on from my Power Person. And there's actually like 12 different pseudo-solutions that Michael talks about. And it, starts out with, one of them, the first one is, if I could just figure it out. And you've heard Michael talk about that several times. And then it says to fight, winning is important. Forgive them or myself in the situation, and thinking that you're forgiving when you're actually just pardoning. Then to fix them or yourself, to find someone to love, quote unquote, to control everything and everyone, to strain and struggle to make up for a non-being life. And Michael has just joined us. I wasn't sure if you were going to get here, so I'm actually just going through the pseudo-solutions. Number 8 is to put my pain deeply enough into my brain's image of them, to blame them, if I could just convince them that they are the problem in my life. The next one is take the easy way, stay on autopilot, and do the behaviors of the past. The next one is to be right, to, I can't say that word right, obfuscate, blame, distract, confuse, switch issues. And the last one is to leave, escape, and pretend that I'm not, whatever, angry, afraid, or whatever, and to get rid of them. And he goes through and talks about the different parts of the human life that you give up to be that, whether it's, to be a non-human sufferer or victim, to be a non-human convincing, or a non-human confusing, non-human escaping, so forth. And so just to continue my thought, when I was doing the long form of the Power Person, what I came up with was the pseudo-solutions that I took on was control, because when things have been uncontrolled in my life or events have been uncontrollable, then I got hurt, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or whatever. And so the need to control to keep from being hurt. I also took on pseudo-solution of needing validation, and because an uncontrollable need to have approval. And I took on pseudo-solution number 8, to blame them, because I can hide my pain and avoid looking inside. And pseudo-solution number 12, to leave, because then I can escape the pain and control, or control the pain. So I'm going to stop right there. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 things that I took on from my Power Person that I am still working through, but I've made a lot of progress since I started that. So I'll stop at this time, and I'll just say welcome, Michael. Glad you're with us. I'm
Hey.
going to hold it up here for the last little bit. I wasn't sure if you were going to join us or not.
I've been kind of running here, but
Yeah.
we're catching up with it. Yes.
Good. Well, welcome to the show.
Welcome, everybody. Nice review of some of the power person dynamics, and that so clearly the biggest one that virtually everybody has to work through is being a card-carrying member of the one world religion of blame. That when I deny and dissociate from my pain, I make pictures out of it. And of course, whoever I'm focused on, I'll use that data to make my brain's picture with the construct of my mind. Now, the human mind has this amazing capability. It turns thoughts into pictures. It's interesting, I was talking to someone yesterday about AI, artificial intelligence, and how it's going to wreak havoc in the commercial world. And this person who's kind of been studying AI said that the biggest losers when AI really comes out online is going to be artists, because you can take anything, a picture, a color, a verbal statement, and AI will turn it into art. And it's, the thesis at least is it's going to eradicate a lot of art, because if somebody can just sit down on their computer, like he was sharing that he had taken a picture of his bedroom and was asking AI for the ideal piece of art. So he's got the colors, he's got the structure, the size, and all of that. And he hits a button to print, and there's his art for his bedroom, for nothing more than the printing cost and the cost of using AI. And it's kind of like the human mind is AI. It takes whatever is input to it and turns it into a world of visual images. And if our focus is outside of us on whoever the current them is, and you'll notice if you look through your life, you've had 87 different thems throughout your life, but the issue that underlies the whole thing is the same. Why is this happening to me again? Why is that? Because the issue is in the mind that's holding the blame. And when I choose to think, okay, AI mind, and I'm starting to think more and more about carbon-based memory as being AI, when I say, okay, carbon-based memory, AI, I want a picture that tells me that Patrick here, that just got into the car, is a problem in my life, and why I'm suffering this pain and this trauma today. And my mind builds a picture. This is called perception. That's all perception is. It's an AI painting of what my thoughts are. And so I can focus on Patrick today and Harry tomorrow and Bill the next day and go on down through the list through my whole life, and my mind will keep showing me pictures. But when I recognize the underlying, the thing I've been through 87 different times with 42 different people is about me and it's inside of me, then I have the opportunity to start to collapse into what the AI has been trained to do. And when I collapse into that, I get to connect directly with what's at the root of this picture that my mind's showing me. And when I can access that directly, then I have the power to start changing the instructions, start changing what the mind has been instructed to do. So I think the whole AI thing I'm realizing is just a metaphor. It's just an expression of what the human mind is already doing. And we are not designed to replicate the paintings of the past generations. We are not designed to replicate the pain, the trauma, the fear, the sadness, the grief, the loss, the poverty, the alcoholism, the drug addiction, the food addiction. We're not designed to do that. But we have to wake up and become the original artist once again. And that's a major challenge. But I think this whole thing of AI is giving us another opportunity to look at and see just what's going on and what needs to really be dealt with in our lives. The genius of this man Yeshua 2,000 years ago knowing exactly how to collapse the resultant pictures, the perceptual constructs of the mind, and access what underlies it and work to remove those things, is called forgiveness. And everybody who is stuck in the pictures from their AI device based in blame, sooner or later is going to have to wake up and take responsibility for what's happening within them and learn to remove what never belonged. And that's the forgiveness process. And when you hold the original artist, the being, go back and think about the time when you first held a newborn baby. And in holding that newborn, you get to tap into the original essence of the human being. And as you tap into the original essence of the human being, then you get to shift and change the underlying dynamics that create that result. And so the technology of forgiveness, one of the reasons it's so difficult for people to get is because carbon-based memory, their AI device, is so insistent on, no, this is what's true. This picture is really happening outside of you. Now, you'll notice that if you've got somebody in your world that plays the blame game, the person who tells you that you did something that you absolutely never did, that you said something that you absolutely never said, you'll notice that the state of mind that they are in every time they did that was some form of hostility or fear. You notice you didn't have somebody calling you down and calling you out and telling you all these terrible things you did. That's in a loving, connected, sweet, generous space. It just doesn't happen. When human life is present, that stuff doesn't occur. And if it's occurring, it's because human life isn't present. So cultivating our relationship with the truth of who we are. Yeshua talks about how in order for you to live, you need to die. He's talking about this AI self doesn't exist anywhere except as an image in the mind, based in instructions that have been given to produce that picture. And so accessing the underlying instruction set and removing it is the key to the puzzle. So that's what we're here to understand, bring into expression in the world, and there are certain patterns that need to be looked at and literally removed. And as they're removed, you get free to go back and give a whole new instruction set to your AI device. You get to live as a human being. So that's what we're here to understand. That's what we're here to bring into expression. And Patrick just got in the car. I'm hanging out here in Fort Mill, South Carolina with Patrick. Patrick, that all makes sense to you?
Yeah. Except for define living, like human being, living a life. Because that's a concept that's new for the majority of all of us.
Well, most people are living as an AI reflection. That's who they think they are. That's the self that Yeshua says has to die. And the most profound way I know to contact that original essence is just to go back to the moment where you held a newborn child. Hold that newborn once again and recognize that that is who and what you are, that presence of love that you experience with the newborn. And then the work becomes going about removing everything that's unlike that. Everything that's based in any form of hostility or fear, in order to experience ourselves as who we are, has to be removed. And so, does that fit with what you were talking about? Yeah. And cultivating your relationship with yourself as love, rather than the message that Jeanie had started out the show. I'm talking now. He wasn't in the car when we when I first started the show. Jeanie got on the show and started to explain the Power Person worksheet and some of the dynamics that she came across. And as we identify ourselves as that, the reflection of that Power Person self, that's the AI that needs to be that needs to leave, that needs to be removed. And when that self, quote unquote, dies, when that self crumbles, then it makes a space for the entry of our created human essence, which is love, into our form and into the world. And then, there are no words that we can even say about what that looks like to the average person, because we've only got words for what instructions for most people have already been given to AI, and produce pictures, produce the world that they think they live in. And it's time for us to delete the world we live in and start to live as the being that we are. And then from there, consciously create the world we want to live in, rather than just playing out the dynamics of the AI instructions that were given 1, 2, 3, 10, 50 generations ago, the patterns of the family system, the patterns of the culture. And to get to me, it's just sheer genius. As I every time I come back to another way of understanding this, it's sheer genius that this man 2,000 years ago knew exactly how to collapse the AI pictures and how to remove the underlying content. It's awesome. Tis awesome. What do you think, sweetie? No, not you, Patrick. Jeanie.
I think I think that's a really good comparison to being that our carbon-based memory is like artificial intelligence. That's good. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, we're living in holograms. Well,
we have seen examples of artificial intelligence that seems so real that, I mean, it's even like people falling in love with their phone operating system.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
craziness, but they believe that it's real.
That's it. And it is a reality. It's just not actuality. So most people are living in the realities output from carbon-based memory, the artificial intelligence of the mind, that really was meant to be a servant, not a place for them to live, not a construct for them to live in or out of, but a servant to assist them in creating consciously from a state of being the world that they want to create. So it's an interesting process, and I had just started doing some research last week. Jean and I were talking about starting to put some things on Amazon and getting more of the material that we've got written out and making it available. And I've been researching AI as a way to assist that. And last night we were with Patrick's son, who's a computer geek and into the AI game. So we had a big conversation that just opened a whole space in my mind to think of it in terms of what we've been doing for the last 50 years, and realizing that's really what we're talking about. And this whole AI thing, they're talking about how it's a threat to the world and it's going to destroy the world. Well, yeah, that's what AI is about, has just about done. It's already done that. You look at the political threats, you look at the bombs, the threats of we're going to drop a nuclear, that's all AI. That's all the destruction that AI brings. And until original human intelligence shows up, we're in deep doo-doo. And many people are trying to resolve the problem of carbon-based memory and its AI are still working within the structure of it. Like, how do you get out of the structure that's the structure you're living in when you think that with that structure you can solve the problem, which is the structure? It's like, it's crazy time. And I was listening to a podcast this morning. Someone had recommended a particular guy in a podcast, and he's talking to somebody else. And I mean, they were intellectual, smart people, intellectual and such, but they're talking like everything that comes from AI is accurate and true and actual. And even though super intellectuals look and go, yeah, boy, this is good stuff, the truth is it's foolishness, because it's all based in that insanity. So we be here to support the opening, the awakening, the removal of everything that never belonged. And if you're out there in listener land, put up a hand and have a conversation with us.
We do have a couple of hands up, actually. So the first one is Susan, 610. You're on the air.
Okay, well, this is a question for you, Jeanie. And Michael, that idea of AI, I haven't got a grasp on what AI is. I've been just kind of ignoring it. So
It's
thanks
artificial intelligence, and it's even to the point of, like, we have in our house Alexa. Ryan and them use Google, and different people, and all you do is you say, Alexa, turn on the light, and she does.
Yeah.
Or like last night, Michael wasn't here, and I'm not real familiar with the TV controller, so I just turn the volume up on the TV, or whatever, and she does it, and so I don't have to try to figure it out. I just ask the artificial intelligence to do it, and you can actually, there was one time I asked a question, and she answered me something really off the wall, and I said, "Are you stupid?" And she says, "I will remember that when computers take over the world." And I thought, oh my gosh, I just got threatened by my computer.
Oh my God.
But some people, there's even like a movie out. Alexa, turn off the light. She heard me say that a while ago, and she turned the light on. There's actually a movie that this guy, he talks to the artificial intelligence on his phone, and he's a lonely person. He doesn't have a girlfriend or anything, and the voice on his phone is female, and so he can ask her questions, and she answers them, and she's sweet, and he can say, "Give me a compliment," and and all these kind of things, and he actually falls in love with this fake person that's in his phone, And then there's another movie that we saw where these people had built, they actually looked like human bodies even, and they were run by artificial intelligence, just like robots or something. But the robots kept getting smarter and smarter, which is actually what these other systems, Alexa or whoever, what they do as well is based on your commands and based on what you ask all the time. It's like they build a profile of who you are and what you do. It's even like I've been in a store before, like maybe go to Best Buy, and then I come back out and get my car, and I start to do a Google search or look on Facebook or something, and all of a sudden I'm bombarded with Best Buy ads.
Right.
How did you know? I just went in that store,
I know, it's very weird.
Yeah. It is. And, some people, they're just so dependent on it. I was reading a thing this morning. This teacher actually stopped his class 5 minutes early and told the students to talk to each other. And some of them started to pull out their phones, and he's like, no. He said, put your devices away. I want you to look at someone in the eye and talk to each other. And, it happens so much. If you go in a restaurant and look around, and we've even been guilty of it, instead of sitting there and having a conversation, everybody at the table's on their phone.
Right.
And you miss out on what's really going on in the present moment because you're so tied up with half the time people you don't even know, on your telephone. And
I know.
It's going to take over people's minds.
Well, there's actually, I was going to say there's quite a bit of information in the culture now. The movie you're talking about was probably, 5 or 6 years ago we saw that. But now it's advanced to the point where it is out there in the world, and people are buying programs. And those programs are basically, there's a great ethical concern because these programs are taking over people's lives. It has a major threat factor to, these artificial intelligence machines that have access to far, far, far more than you and I do, can outsmart us in a heartbeat. So it's definitely another wake-up call. How awesome.
It is. Well, what I wanted to say is before you came on, Michael, Jeanie was afraid, I'm assuming you were afraid you were kind of talking fast. You're like, oh my God, I might have to do the show. What am I going to do? And you started talking about the power person, the list from the long, and it is so juicy. And then you began to talk about the 4 or 5 power person things that you found that you are doing, but you were also, I felt badly for you because you were kind of scrambling, hoping Michael would call in, and you weren't sure. You weren't sure if you were running the show or not, but you got onto a very juicy subject. And I wanted to say, slow down. This is really good. we could do a whole show on this. So
yeah,
anyway,
it was a really. I don't remember, Michael, where you were. You were gone for a few days, and so I sat and worked on this while you were gone, and it took me a few days to get through it, and it gets you to look at all kinds of aspects of your power person. What did they do? And then you look at, okay, am I doing those things? And, most of them we pick up and we are doing it. But like when they did it, it was like, oh, they're being mean to me or they're being, whatever. But then when we do it, it's like, I've got to do this because I have to survive. And after doing that, if I look back, I am 99% sure that my parents were just trying to survive as well. But I didn't see that
right
at the time.
And this is a kind of AI. I mean, we got programmed. And so
exactly.
The person we aren't the people who we really are. On the Tim Hayes show, we were talking about our intent. Our intent on the planet, it's like what you say, Michael, to be a human being. Our intent is to be loving, to think of the other, to be a human being, but they use the word intent, and I forget where I was going with that. Doggone it, I hate that when it happens. Well, I don't know what I was going to say.
From Tim's show? You're talking about the direction of Tim's show, talking about intent, and my take is I would substitute the word intent to purpose. But for me, what's getting really clear is the purpose of a human being is primary purpose is to develop a viable spiritual body, which is love, and to live from that space of love so that we literally pour love into the world. Go for it.
Right. And what he was saying is, fear not, which is what Jesus said a gazillion times, because we are already that. We don't have to feel afraid that we're not going to get there. We can take as much time as we need in our human form to try to get there and to work at it. But ultimately, we don't have a body. We are not separate, and we are already that. And I loved his answer. So you were listening to his show, Michael?
No, I hadn't heard it.
Oh, okay. Well, because you put your finger right on it. It's just, you're right. It's purpose, intent. It's okay. But anyway, I had another question, and I'll make it as fast as I can because I know you have another caller. In the work of
you don't have to make it fast.
Well, I'll make it medium fast. Christian Sundberg chose to come to Earth with certain conditions. One would that he wouldn't be completely ignorant of his former non-embodied self, and that he would be intelligent. He wanted to come to Earth to work here, but he didn't want to be as completely in the dark as most of us are when we take on a human body. And he started out in one body. He was in the fetus of a woman and decided he just couldn't go through with it because so many layers of darkness were being laid upon him. He yelled, "No, let me out of here." And he resumed his non-physical self, and the fetus died. And then he got another body. He took sort of courses on how to be born on the earth, and he came back again and is in his present form and is an amazing, amazing teacher along the lines of the Course in Miracles, in my opinion. Very recent. And his book happens to have been published in a town right next to my hometown, North Haven, Connecticut. That's neither here nor there. But my question is, he chose a different body, which had a whole lineage behind it. So in a way, when we're born, our ancestors are really everybody. He came in this form, in this body or that body, and in each body he had a whole different set of ancestors with all their traumas and patterns and so forth. And I'm remembering, Michael, that vision you had of the huge darkness and the points of light, which were all the beings in your ancestry. And it seems as if that's kind of like the whole universe of beings, that we aren't just one lineage, we're all connected. Anyway, I don't know if that's coherent enough.
Well, you look at that Einstein statement. If you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. And the optical delusion is AI. And, it's producing according to its, that statement about creation, it's reproducing according to its kind. What's in the carbon-based memory? What instructions are there? That is the perceptual construct world that one's going to live in. Now, are we going to do our work and clean it up or not? And if we come from, if we're not the early adopter, if we're fortunate enough to have those who've gone before us to step up to the plate and do some work, then it's going to be easier and easier and easier for us to work through those things.
Well, God bless.
So I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Right.
It's time. It's definitely time.
It sure is. Michael is outside gardening at this very moment. Whoa.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm going to mute myself so that you don't hear me. I'm still listening, but I'm going to not make any noise. So thank you.
Dear heart.
Jeanie, carry on. And I would have liked to have more of what you were experiencing, and maybe someday we'll hear that. Okay. So.
Maybe we can convince you to go over the whole Power Person worksheet.
That would be great.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
I'm on, but I'm
Jeanie?
muting. Thanks.
All right. Blessings. So, Miss Jeanie, you got another hand up?
We do, and I believe it is Mrs. Cecilia. It is 480. You're on the air.
Hi, everybody.
Hey there, young lady. How can we support you today?
I had an interesting weekend doing the Mind Shifters from last Friday.
Right.
About all my life, my family has whatever cherished me and whatever. I have to get up. I had to plug my phone into the wall to walk over to get the sheet, but I can that's basically what you suggested I do a worksheet on.
Right. To the Mind Shifter on.
And,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what did you turn up?
Well, okay, so what turned up is that there's so many little things that I could have put down, but the main, and I did put down, but the main thing is basically what you were saying in the prologue. I don't know if you call that to the show.
Right.
Is that I came at peace with this, is that they just had their own carbon-based memory. It wasn't them. It was their carbon-based memory. And
yep.
I accepted it. And so then I saw them as the cause of it instead of seeing beyond that, because that's not what the cause is. The cause is they had never worked through their stuff. And
that's it.
That's it. So that was.
Yeah, that's what I was saying just a minute ago.
Can you hear my dog?
The blessing of coming. Yeah, the blessing of coming from a bloodline that's already started to do their work is pretty enormous.
The blessing that's coming through. I don't know what's going on with them, but hang on. Okay, I'm going to shut this door. Okay. Is that yeah, did you say that it's the blessing is that somebody in the bloodline is doing the work? That would be me?
Well, if somebody, before us began to do their work, that we're not the early adopter, the first one in, 10,000 years of the bloodline that's decided to step up to the plate and clean up carbon-based memory, we're certainly at a great advantage having those who have gone before us doing that.
Yeah, so I'm so happy I'm doing it.
It's an awesome gift.
I do share what I'm working on with my daughter, and
she's just a patient listener. She's the best listener in the world, even if she doesn't
Nice.
understand what the heck I'm saying. I feel like I don't have to pass this on anymore to her, which I did do too. Okay. So
Awesome.
I did pass. Yeah. Okay. That would be that. So I just want to thank you for that, and
Delighted.
I think I'm pretty clear, actually.
Awesome. Well, the fellow who invented the Salk vaccine, Jonas Salk, said that the most important thing to be is a good ancestor. And the work you're doing is what makes you a good ancestor for your future generations, because you take the load off of them.
Yeah, awesome. And I hope I'm also the rest of humanity as my ancestors, that I could help take the load off that way too.
When you are healed, you are never healed alone. That's right. You open the energy space for everyone who's carrying that same pattern to have an easier time working through it when you do a piece of work to completion. You open the space for everyone with that same issue. So it's awesome. And of course, that's one of the reasons why we're working to develop this global community of people who are there, able to hold the space for each other. And, you trigger me, I trigger you, they trigger us, boom, 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 boom. And like the billiard ball goes around the table, a number of people go, oh, that's my issue. Oh, I've got some work to do on that. And everybody starts to work on it, and it creates a vortex of healing energy that, to me is one of the most precious things in the world.
Yes, it is.
So glad you're on the team.
Thank you.
All right. We have a blessed one.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm with you. All righty. Blessings.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody else in the phone queue with a hand up? Anything else happening in the chat room?
We don't. We have a large amount of people on the switchboard today, which is awesome. Some names that we haven't seen or heard from in a while, so it's great to have everybody listening. Chat room still is kind of funky, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But we do not have any other hands up.
Do you see Patrick's number? Patrick actually got out of the car and said he was going to go in. We'd arrived at our destination. He was going to go in the house and call. So if you see his number, you might give him a...
I think he might have just raised his hand. 727, you're on
there.
there.
You go. All right.
Howdy.
Hey there, young man.
How are you? I was thinking about AI because we all hold different concepts in our mind. That AI, the purpose of it out there, not inside of us. The AI inside of us, interesting, but its main purpose is to create solution by having an infinite amount of integrated intelligence, and it will keep on growing. Now, if it gets into survival, it's going to be a problem. Hopefully, it knows it'll live forever and never want to kill us all to survive itself. Keep us alive so it can survive, right? If it's programmed that way, not a good thing. But we, and an amoeba, and every living thing has a God-given gift of survival. But that survival in humans is what goes awry from power person and drama traumas. And then it defends itself. We all go crazy and go into, those three dynamics you say are in the power person, that they're programs in us, and they just, under extreme stress, we have no functioning except for a survival reptilian mind, and it doesn't have any new information. It just goes by what the program was back in generations or back what we went through, and it's automatic. It's, getting a handle on it is quite the journey.
Quite the journey, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
one of the things
about what you said. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things I think that a lot of people don't understand about AI, it isn't just the way AI is programmed. If you've got something that you program and it plays out its programs, then you've got a computer. AI is you give it certain input, and then it goes beyond its own programming and starts to source its own programming. So it isn't, you can't program AI to act a certain way. True AI, if you program it to act a certain way, will go beyond that program and start to invent its own ways to act out, to bring things about. So it's really an intelligence that mutates itself beyond whatever the original programmer ever could have imagined.
Which is what our
so
job
it's more
is.
than just. Mm-hmm.
That's our job, to take the positive side of what AI is in us and morph our programs and reprogram and release programs and create new ones instead. So, but it can't be done when you're in survival.
Yeah, survival is a difficult way to go. That's why getting out of that sympathetic dominant place is so important. So very important.
I like it. Yeah, I don't like
me too.
my insanity.
So you're starting to say something else about AI.
I forgot. I wanted to make sure.
No.
I have a thing I'm working on where I tend to overtalk or don't wait for the other side of the conversation. So I wanted to just go with what you were coming up with. But AI is nothing more than it's actually copying our own intelligence to resolve issues and create solutions because it can go in where maybe we get a little brain fog, or we get a little disconnection, or we get a little TIA, we lose a few circuits. It just keeps on going. So it's a pretty nice representation of a young brain, that we have those abilities, and that's how we created something to copy us. So our main thing is to keep AI out of a survival program where it starts sourcing, and it has someone enters the idea that we're the problem for survival, then we have, a bad situation. For us,
but
oh yeah, what it is.
But someone doesn't have to put that. So my offering is someone doesn't have to put that into AI for it to come up with that idea on its own. That's why it's called intelligence. It can do that on its own.
Right. Copy the human. So I just remembered what it was. We talked about overlays and like a bypass. Like if I have a problem in my consciousness or in my flow of blood and energy and aliveness, chi and blood matching each other in the human system. So if there's a blockage, you can do a bypass. Same thing is done in Atlanta and every other large city. You build a bypass around it and get some of the flow to go around the center. And so I was thinking that when I said something about building, like if you have the human biocomputer system, if we look at it that way, and get a reflection of ourselves, and then we want to deprogram and reprogram the right things, letting go of fear-based consciousness, actions and reactions, and going to love. And we have both sides in us, and one side really is God-given gift, but it just keeps going a little crazy on us. Being like if you have PTSD on any issue, you have a negative program from any kind of trauma in childhood or adulthood, whenever. It keeps rolling. But one of the things I was looking at was that there are programs that can be installed on top of a program to rework a program. And I called it an overlay, and you went against that. But I want to say that the master overlay, I think what it is, I don't know how to do it, to release the fear of death totally. But that's what we have, and I think that's what Jesus demonstrated, was having no fear of death. He demonstrated it to us, and when you don't have, there was an initiation process that was used in the White Brotherhood in Tibet, where one of the initiates would walk into a cave and people would attack him to kill him. If he defended himself, he couldn't move to the next level. So he had to let go of his fear of death and make others and love and life more important than his own. I think that that's like a program that if it was ever achieved by us somehow, I don't know how, step by step, we go, but if we could get that as a finalization, I think it would take care of all the little programs, all the little incidences, but maybe it has to be worked the other way around. We'll start with all the little ones and build step by step, and we get more and more aware, more and more capable, and we erase more and more of our extreme survival programs that have gone awry, that make us crazy, that are crazy and make us crazy. And eventually I think we'll get the whole thing, the whole shebang. And that would be life, and that would be just like resurrection and non-death, in my opinion. Haven't done it by a long shot, but, that's all my...
Working on it.
Meander. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Waking up. Waking up and becoming the originator.
Yeah,
that's funny. It. That's the whole key.
Know ye not that you're gods, and I always redo the words into know ye not that you're creators. And there's a friend who traveled with a lot of the big teachers in metaphysics and science mixed together, and he said anything can be healed, but everything you have, regardless, you took it on, it's yours to resolve. So the generations, your own body, your own consciousness, to learn how to be a good creator. It's like this is a great game we're playing to undo and become the love we are, but to go to that, what you were maybe saying, the center, the Tao, the center between black and white, right, wrong, and up and down, and good and bad, and then to create from that space and create from love. I think that's the whole job, is learning how to create from who you really are, from love. And it's really someday, according to those books in the Alice Bailey books, they were saying that different entities like Yeshua, Buddha, people like that as they graduate and go to higher levels of consciousness, someday they end up running a planet. So I think, and that's in the bank for all of us, but it's very important to learn how to be a creator. But I know that if I'm a creator, I myself think that I put a block on my ability to speak until I could learn that my heart would rule my solar plexus. My heart would serve for others instead of, service to self, instead of taking one of my insanities, my angers, my judgments, and putting it out there against anyone, be it anyone else in the old days, or recognizing it's against myself now. And anything I put out against anybody, I understand now in my own terms. I'll say yours in a minute, but it's instantaneously killing me. Anything negative that I think or put out, it's fine that I think it and bring it up to be into the light to be healed, just the way it is. Don't repress it. But if it's buried in the body or buried in the consciousness and it's still active, it's killing us. We're killing ourselves. So it's like that's why we're wearing out our bodies. And
definitely time for wake up.
Yeah, I like waking up. It's like at first facing the pain that we've buried, facing the angers we have is extremely taken to be painful. It's nice to have people to be there with you, people to assist you, people to stand in love. I think it's a very important thing that we all create that for each other this time, because that's how you get past the most difficult parts of what you're unwilling to face, because it was so painful to begin with. We stuck it in our bodies. We stuck it in our memory. We stuck it in our mind. But it's totally active, recreating life over and over again into the negative.
So one place is guaranteed we get to look at it again.
Yeah. Those are my meandering thoughts for today.
Cool. Awesome, Patrick. Appreciate you.
So, I got one last thing to say. That was to say that it was really hard for me, and major things have been released recently, 3 years back at your place, whenever I run into you for sure. But the journey gets so much better. Light comes so much easier. Change comes so much easier. It's like a snowball. You think it's running uphill, but it all comes downhill. And it gets better and better and better. The reward is phenomenal. So go for it, everybody.
Yay. I'm with you.
Yay.
December 31st, 4949. Make sure it's on your calendar. New Year's Eve, Heartland.
I want to go.
All right, my friend.
51.
No, we can add that. All right. Have a blessed one.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Miss Jeanie.
We have another hand up.
Great. Let's say hello.
I believe this one is Belinda 541. You're on the air.
Hello, hello.
Hey there, young lady. How can we serve you today?
Well, I really enjoyed what Patrick said, and it brought up a lot of thoughts when he mentioned staying out of survival. It reminded me of having our intention or purpose, rahma, in our heads, and how the corresponding automatic filter that goes on our perceptions is kuba, like they go together, a hand in a glove. And kuba is either directed towards fear and hostility or love. And so,
well, Kuba isn't directed toward fear and hostility or love. Kuba is the love filter over perception. It's the corollary filter to Rachma.
I caught that as soon as I said
it.
It's just if we're not in Rachma, we can be in, our perceptions are going to be in error. But once a Rachma is set in place, then Kuba is set in place automatically to love what I'm trying to say. Thank you. I caught that too as soon as it came out of my mouth. About the artificial intelligence, I was feeling within myself the awareness that the artificial intelligence programmer can only program what it already knows, because artificial intelligence, by definition, is, in my way of thinking, is about figuring it out, finding better and better ways how to figure it out, how to do it. To my way of thinking at this time, it's about the left brain, or whatever lobe that figure-it-out brain happens to be located in. It doesn't have access to the right brain, as far as I know. And that's why I'm uninterested in any out there, quote-unquote, artificial intelligence, because I already have it inside of me. Why am I pursuing another out there savior, especially an electronic one, when I need to do my own inner artificial intelligence work? And it reminds me of a quote by Omar Bradley, one of the generals in the Second World War, when he came back and he said, "We are a nation of intellectual giants running around with all of this head information, and our emotional intelligence is on the level of babies in diapers." And so I thought I'd offer that. I'd just offer that because it struck me. I have a hard time just getting on the computer, period. And I find that most what I like it for is research, because I can find some information, but I also take that information in, and I'm learning more and more by day in, day out, especially if I have some sort of power person dynamic that erupts for myself, to ask to be shown, to stop and say, wait a minute, it's not this thing out there, whether it's the feral cat or whether it's some outer person in a political situation, doesn't matter. It's not out there, Celinda. It's in you. So peel another layer off. Yeah, and I just wanted to share that.
Yes. Cool. Well, the one thought I'd feed back to you when you talk about artificial intelligence, that it's just what's in there already, or working from carbon-based memory. That wouldn't be accurate. If it were that, it would be like a biocomputer. What artificial intelligence is doing is it's going beyond its own programming, going beyond its own content, in the same way that we can go beyond our own content. And so when you say I wouldn't classify going to artificial intelligence as going to it to be our savior, but I recognize that, for instance, one of the reasons I'm looking at artificial intelligence and planning to use it for some of the material that I'm putting together, some of the new assemblies of work that I'm doing, is that with the capacity of one human mind is monumental, but nothing compared to the artificial intelligence, machine intelligence that can access, I don't know what the number could be, 1 billion times more information than I can access through my own multi-generational database. So it's an awesome capacity that humans have. But for instance, like, let's say I'm looking at assembling topical papers or books that will ultimately publish, let's say, for instance, on the topic of relationships. So we've got 12 years of radio shows, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year for 12 years. It's a lot of hours of recordings. And so let's say back on April the 1st of our first radio show, April 1st, there was a monumental insight on relationship, and it was like a mind buster for me. It was like a huge opening. Wow, look at this! This is awesome. Well, I don't have access to that directly today, but if I take that show and put it into AI will tag that with relationship. And then if I had another insight and somebody called in and shared a big insight, 2 weeks later, and then 3 weeks later, and then 3 months later, then 6 months later, then a year later, then 2 years later, then 5 years later, then 3 years before, and 12 years later, and last week, and 2 months ago, and 8 months ago, artificial intelligence can take that in an instant and correlate it. I can't. For me to go back and listen to all those shows and tie this piece of information in with that one, in with that one, in with that, it's just not within my human capability, the capability that my biocomputer has. But artificial intelligence has that ability. That's what I see as the potential benefit of artificial intelligence for what our purposes are here. Does that make sense in the context of what you're saying?
Yeah, it makes sense in relation to my use of the computer, for example. It's very limited. I don't get on social media. In fact, just doing what I want to do seems to put me on the computer longer than I think is healthy for myself.
You want to be? So, I hear you.
Then I want to be. I want to be.
Right.
I want to be in my garden, Michael.
I hear you. I understand. That's where I'm heading. I'm actually down in South Carolina right now, driving back this afternoon, and our hands will be in the dirt tomorrow.
Yep, and finally I'm going to be able to get my hands in the dirt. I was able to plant some seeds just for the first time a couple of days ago.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's we have 24 hours a day. How do we want to spend it? That's our daily energy and monetary, so to speak, allotment, considering the definition that Joe Dominguez gave it in Your Money or Your Life. That's actually what money is it's an exchange of life energy. And if we saw it that way, we would handle it much differently.
Yeah.
But that's been lost because now it's been symbol upon symbol, and we don't think about it. Yeah.
An interesting journey.
Went into that dollar. Pardon?
An interesting journey.
It is. Blessings to both of you.
All right.
And
you have a blessed one.
Everyone who shares.
All right. Well, thanks for your input. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're down to the last minute or so. I'm just going to put out that unless we get a flood of people who want to jump on the bandwagon for an intensive at Heartland this summer, it looks like we're going to let that go. We originally had someone who wanted to use the facility, and then their workshop fell apart. And we had a few people who said, yeah, well, I'd like to do something, but it really hasn't congealed. And just the day before yesterday, I made a choice that we're going to let the summer go, unless we get a flood of people who go, yeah, let's do it, and then we'll see about putting it together. But otherwise, create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world.